Fox News alert now, less than 2 hours from right now. President Obama will address the United Nations General Assembly. He's expected to focus on the fight against ISIS. David Lee Miller is live at the UN. Hey, what kind of support will he get, David Lee?
Well, it's expected that he's going to certainly be asking for broad support, Brian. How much of that support he will receive, well, that remains unclear. This is the president's 6th appearance before the UN General Assembly, and he is expected to talk about the ideology that leads to Islamic extremism. He's also expected to address the coalition joining the U.S. in fighting against ISIS. The president is likely to draw parallels in efforts to defeat ISIS and the international resolve to fight Ebola, as well as to end the crisis in the Ukraine. Only yesterday, the president met with airstrike partners and discussed the threat posed by the Islamic State. Listen.
I think we now have an opportunity to send a very clear message that the world is united, that all of us are committed to making sure that we degrade and ultimately destroy not only ISIL, but also the kinds of extremist ideologies that would lead to so much bloodshed.
Later in the day, the president is expected to chair a meeting of the UN Security Council, and it is there that he's expected to call for passage of a resolution calling for countries to stop the recruitment as well as the transport of ISIS fighters. One of the key points today, Brian, comes down to this: the United States is not going to be acting alone, but rather leading the charge against ISIS and terrorism. Brian?
Wow. David Lee, thanks so much. Yesterday was all about global warming, and yet we were bombing the night before. Today, we didn't really bomb the night before, but we are going to be talking about the battle against ISIS and extremism and this brand new group, the Kurdish group from that area.
Yeah, talk about things heating up. The United States airstrikes in Syria not only trying to eliminate ISIS, they're also trying to take aim at a separate and possibly more dangerous threat, if you can imagine that, an al-Qaeda offshoot on the verge of executing a brand new 9/11 style attack. Bringing bombs on American planes is one of their strategies.
We believe the Khorasan group was nearing the execution phase of an attack either in Europe or the homeland. We know that the Khorasan group has attempted to recruit Westerners to serve as operatives or to infiltrate back into their homelands.
Bill Gavin is the former assistant director of the FBI in New York and president of the Gavin Group. He joins us today, I believe, from Boston. Good morning to you, Mr. Gavin.
Good morning.
Okay, you know, we never heard of this group until a couple of days ago. How about you?
That's about the same thing, Steve. The Khorasan group is a relatively new group, kind of a spin-off from al-Nusra and therefore al-Qaeda. It's kind of the elite, the group of people, somewhere, the estimate is somewhere between 50 and 100 of them, who train, who recruit, and who try to infiltrate our country plan the attacks, and then also develop some sort of a new explosive that can be used that's undetectable by our present protocols. They're a very, very dangerous group at this point, ergo the reason for the bombing of their particular location in Syria.
Exactly. So are there American fighters as of yet known with ties to this specific group?
Elizabeth, I don't think there has been anybody documented at this particular time, but that is not to say that there isn't some American fighter incorporated with them. It remains to be seen through the analysis of the information we got from the attacks.
And, you know, there's a lot of question, too, is whether the administration is going through the proper protocols and briefing the House Intelligence Committee and briefing the Senate Intelligence Committee to get them up to speed on the dangers out there. Does that bother you?
Yes, to a degree it does, Brian, but I think that that's a whole separate issue that they have to deal with on a political level, whereas the military, intelligence, and law enforcement agencies now really have to deal with this on an actual level to prevent any bombings from occurring.
Sure. Bill, apparently officials say that there was concrete plotting, but no imminent danger against any specific flight or individual or target. But clearly, they were intent on trying to do something spectacular. But at the same time, apparently, the United Kingdom and Australia intercepted messages that there was a possibility that they were going to try to pull off some sort of a low-level knife or gun attack somewhere, presumably a school or a mall or something like that, just something to inflict maximum terror.
That's, as you well know, Steve, that's the goal of the terrorists, both psychological and physical terror. In this particular case, I don't think there's any doubt that the United States intelligence agencies, military, law enforcement agencies had the advantage of some eyes on the ground there, because with this group, which is a closely held, knit group of 50 or so of the Khorasan, I think with this particular group, we had to have somebody in there who was able to say, look, it's time. Here's what they're developing, and they're going to actualize their plans, and we had to do something about it. So I think we were covered pretty well.
Right, and we did hear about that they had this, dummy computers, so they were making people turn on their phones for a while to make sure that the non-metallic bomb wasn't being actually a bomb. So we went through that a little while ago from the consumer level. But in the big picture, how do you feel about airstrikes being effective against this group?
I think initially it caught them by surprise, but they will go to the ground and probably conceal themselves a little bit better in the future. They probably, as a lot of these groups do, go into the neighborhoods again,
sure,
so that anything that goes wrong will affect innocent civilians as well.
Human shields. All right, Bill Gavin from the Gavin Group up in Boston. Sir, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.